I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. I'm gonna give you guys a chance to come into the conversation as we get started. There is a lot to talk about, and we need to discuss it as a community. Before we get started, I want you guys to do me a favor. Please hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button, share button, and subscribe button. We're gonna have a good conversation, and it's our conversation about our people and what's happening in our community. Now, many of you all know, obviously, about what happened this week with the tragedy with rapper Nipsey Hussle. And you may also know that Lauren London, the mother of one of his children, or I don't know how many children he does have. I have to look that up. But
Two.
two, okay.
Yeah.
So his child's mother, Lauren London, made some statements about about the death, and we'll talk about that in a second. But one thing that's missing is we don't talk a lot about how women cope with this. How women cope with losing their men, how mothers cope with the threats that exist to their sons. And I think that story is important to hear since we don't hear from women. So without further ado, I'm going to let you all know who I brought in today, and why she's here today. Shannon Marie is a contributor on the Fly Nubian Queen TV network. She's a young lady that has also experienced. She's also unfortunately had the Lauren London kind of experience. She lost the father of her child a few years ago, and we're going to talk about that more in a second. And so before I begin, I want to ask Shannon, how you doing today, sister?
I'm doing good. I'm doing awesome today. I can't wait to hit this subject.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I appreciate you coming in and talking to me about this. And I just want to make sure I just want to go ahead and fess up. I've known Shannon since she was a little girl, and since I think I met Shannon when how old were you? What, about 11?
11.
And how
it was 11 years old.
And now you are 28. Is that right?
I'll be 30, May the 24th.
Oh my God, the time goes by too fast. Oh Lord Jesus, what's happening here? This don't make no sense. But Shannon, I've known Shannon for a long time, and if you guys can't see her, it's because you're on either Facebook or Your Black World. If you want to actually see Shannon and see us side by side on the screen, you can go to drboycetv.com. That's drboycetv.com. But anyway, Shannon, you and I were talking earlier, and we were talking about the Nipsey Hussle situation and Lauren London, and I saw Lauren London's quote, and she was describing how she felt about Nipsey, and I want to read the quote to you, and then I want to ask you, as someone who's had a similar experience as a mother, what went through your mind when you heard this? So Lauren on Instagram, she said, finally, it took her 4 days to break her silence, I guess 3 or 4 days, and she said, "I'm completely lost. I've lost my best friend, my sanctuary, my protector, my soul. I'm lost without you. We are lost without you, babe. I have no words." Shannon, what went through your mind when you heard Lauren's quote?
It sounds like she was basically repeating after me, like when it happened to me, because it's been 6 years since my child's father's been gunned down with the gun, and it just makes me feel the same way, because like it's no describing it. Like it took me almost a whole week before I can even talk about it and realize he was actually gone. So it's like I felt like she was looking in the mirror, like she was looking at me. Like if she looked in the mirror, she would saw a face of me. Because it's like you're losing your best friend. Like, and then when you have children involved in it, it makes it a little bit harder because they're asking questions and you're trying to stay strong. So it's like my soul right now is gone, but I gotta have my soul for my family. So it's like it's one of those things that you can explain, but it's got to be one of those things that hit actual home for you to be able to understand. Like I can explain it and tell you like how I feel, but the feeling changes every day. So it's like one of those things that like I felt like she was looking in the mirror, like at me. I felt like it was me. Like she repeated a quote that I did, because when my child father got killed, I said the same thing, and I posted a picture of me and my family, with me and my boys, because like at this time I was building, like I was building with him. So it was like I felt like my life was on the right path. And then you start to question yourself too, like, is it me? Like, so I kind of feel where she felt like she's probably feeling empty right now,
Interesting. So You said a couple things that really got me thinking. You talked about the kids, and I think the question is, how do you talk to the kids about that? I mean, how do you, what was your, I know you were young, you were 21 or when it happened, or 22?
I was 22. But
Okay.
when it came to the kids, it was never like a right or wrong way to talk to them. So it was like I had to bring my village in, you know. So it's like one of those things like, mama, granny, I need you, you know, because I always believed in God. So everybody was telling me this, you know. People from the outside, like if they haven't really experienced it hands on, like they give good advice and you want to kind of listen to the advice, but it's kind of hard to accept the advice, if that makes sense. So it's like one of those things. It's like I had to reach out to my family and my friends and was like, how do I? And people was basically telling me to tell them the truth because it happens in the real world. So my two oldest kids, I explained it to them, but my son, when he was just 6 months when it happened. So I didn't really have the pressure on me yet. So it was like the pressure wasn't on me yet. And my other two children were into church. So I have a best friend. He's their godfather. So he pretty much stepped in and took over and explained to them that like he's basically in heaven with your grandmother and things like that. And like you have to explain to them the ways they can like relate, I should say, because like we was telling them like just imagine them flying with the birds and like things like that. Like he's up heaven with God. It just depends on what you believe in. But I actually had two friends and my mother helped me with that portion. So it's never a day. There's no right or wrong answer with it because it just depends on the age of the child and what the child understands.
Mm. Okay, well, everybody who's watching, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and you're here at drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. Do me a favor if you are watching, please shout out your city, give it a thumbs up, the video a thumbs up, so more people come into the conversation. Our goal is to elevate the discussion, not just talk about, not just gossip about things, but actually we want to talk about things in a way that where we benefit and grow as a result of this. Also, everybody, you guys know how we start the show. Shout out your city, your business, or your dream, your city, your business, or your dream. And I see Las Vegas in the house, Jasmine from Atlanta, Stephanie from NYC, Hero from Kankakee. There ain't no Black people in Kankakee. Quit lying. Loc from Dallas, Kansas City, Atlanta, Philly, LA, Chicago, Springfield, Illinois, Virginia, Wilmington, Delaware, Atlanta, Birmingham, Alabama, South Carolina, Raleigh, Denver, Greensboro, London, the United Kingdom. Okay, so we got people as far as London, Shannon, and
That's right. Hey y'all.
yeah, we have people actually coming in from China on most of the live streams. So usually there's somebody from China or Australia. So literally all over the world. Memphis, Tennessee, Ontario, Philly, Utah, Detroit. What's up, Big Live? How you doing? Miami, Charlotte, Rochester from King Jacob, and lots of Black people from all over the world that are here for intelligent conversations. So make sure you hit the thumbs up button real quick if you haven't done that. Also, do not forget that our live stream is on iTunes. So if you want to go subscribe on iTunes or SoundCloud, you can actually hear in your car, what's going on, our daily podcast. If you don't have time to come to YouTube, so it's totally up to you. So I'm speaking with Shannon Marie Talbot from Fly Nubian Queen. She is actually very well respected in the hair space, but also she is a smart young lady that has gone through some things that we as a people think is normal. And this is something, and maybe this is a good opportunity for us to talk, more so from an intergenerational standpoint, because I'm a couple of years older than you. It's been a minute since I was going on 30. And it took me time to realize this, Shannon, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this, but, a lot of us, like, we kind of think that this kind of violence, like going through what you went through, what Lauren London's going through, we just see that as like that's just the way it is, and that's just like almost like it's normal, but it ain't normal. When you talk to psychologists, one thing that they tell you is that when your brain goes through a shock like that, it's trauma, and trauma affects your brain. Like it really doesn't really go away, and or like if you're a little kid and you see somebody get killed, that's trauma. It stays with you. Or if you go into school and you're scared somebody's going to shoot you on your way to school, that's trauma. It stays with you. You know, when your parent gets sent away to prison for 100 years, that's trauma, and it stays with you. And it almost seems like we act like it's normal. Like, do you feel like amongst your friends that are your age and younger, that people just kind of just accept it as the way it is, or how do they see it? How do your friends kind of talk about it when you talk to others about what you went through?
It's like they do feel like that it's normal, but like I had to tell them because they felt like it was supposed to be easy for me to do it. They like, come on, let's turn up. You need to get out. You need to do this. But like when it comes to death, everybody grieving, they cope different. So I had to explain to them like if I want to be in my bubble, like I was the person that like when it happened, I wanted to be by myself. Like I'm not even gonna lie, like for like a whole month, I felt like I was a deadbeat mom because I couldn't, like it was so heavy on me that I couldn't have my kids around that I would just call and check in like are they okay, they good, they good. And I was partying. It was just like because I was listening to my friends because they were young and I was already a young child. Basically I was still growing, so I was young, so I was listening to my friends. Like I was like, okay, come on, let's party. Like I was having house parties, but then something just clicked. Like when that month, it was like I could say an honest 3 solid weeks. When it hit and I'm realizing I'm losing myself because I lost a person, I knew that that was something that he wouldn't wanted me to do. So like I had a whole lot of people that was just like, well, you just need to party. You need to just do a whole lot of things to keep your mind off of it, and it'll get better. But it's just like one of those things. It's like it only gets better with time. There's nothing that you can do to make it be better. Especially it depends on the bond, how long it was, the relationship, if y'all grew as when y'all was children, because we basically grew up with each other. Because I met him when I was 13, but I was 15 when we got into a relationship. So he was like a person that came under my mama's wing too. So it's just like it was so many different angles that was hitting with me with my younger friends because they didn't have the mentality to tell me like, hey, it's gonna be all right. You need to sit down, just let it pass, like let the time heal you. They were just trying to make this like it's okay. Like, come on, it's okay. He's all right. He's in a better place. Which goes back to religion. Like, if you believe that, yeah, I believe that was a God, but I question God too. So it was just all my friends were younger than me too. So it was like I was already young, and then my friends were younger. So I don't think that I didn't I don't think I coped with it right, and I don't think I went by it right. But at the time I was so numb that I wasn't me. So it didn't matter to me at the time.
I think it's interesting. As I'm hearing what you're saying, what you're really talking about too, when you're talking about how your friends were cheering you up and doing what good friends do, right? They were encouraging you to go out and have fun and kind of almost like move on, like you can, you got to get up, you got to get out and find a reason to be happy again. That's good that friends do that. But I think that what becomes difficult is that's also, it can easily fall into what they call self-medication. Self-medicating is when somebody says, the pain is so bad, but that I need to drink more to make the pain go away, or I need to party more, or maybe the pain goes away with sex. So I'm gonna go have more sex with people that I don't even know or don't even like because that makes me feel better, or some people turn to drugs, and I think that's where I know for Black people, we don't really talk a lot about like getting therapy. Like we just don't like to even think of ourselves that way because it makes us feel like we're crazy or whatever. But really, I learned a lot, about how much me just as a Black man that I needed therapy, and like you need a way to process this shit because the stuff that we going through is not normal. Like for example, one thing you and I have in common, like obviously I never had my child's parent get killed, my daughter's mother, the women don't get killed like the men do, but we both have fathers that, got ate up by the prison system. There's like hundreds of thousands of Black people that grew up like saying, yeah, my daddy went to prison. Like that ain't normal. Like that's not supposed to happen. But it feels normal. Like in our community, we're like, oh yeah, everybody's daddy's in prison. Fuck that. It ain't supposed to be like that. Like it ain't like that for white people, but it's like that for us. So let me ask you this. So if you was to talk about how long it took you before you started to even begin to feel normal again, Like, how long was that process, you know, after the killing of Quentin?
I can honestly say 5 years. It took me 5 years where I could be able to accept it and talk about it, because maybe with my situation too is that I had no answers, like still to this day. Like it's a whole lot of unsolved answers. And then you know how like when someone gets killed, like as far as like let's take it back with the Nipsey situation. Like you seeing all these different stories, right? On how we think or why he think he got killed, and why we think it might be the government, then it's the crook just like him, then it's black on black. So like hearing all the stories about a good person that I know is honestly not this person, or I heard bad stories and I heard good stories. So it was like I heard so many stories, it's like I don't know what to believe. And then like the actual situation. So for instance, maybe I should start there, like tell you how I heard about it. So like I was at home, right, and I was cooking. So my sister were on my porch. Everybody was at my house. So his best friend and the girlfriend came walking up and they basically was like, "Where's Shannon? We have to tell her something." So I'm hearing it from the kitchen window because like in the summertime, you know, I have my window open while I'm cooking. So I heard it from my kitchen window. I'm hearing them, but I'm not hearing them, if that makes sense. Like I'm hearing what he's saying. I heard him say Quentin just got killed, not shot. He said killed. So I'm like, no. So I'm thoroughly cooking and I'm hearing it, but I'm numb. Like to this point, I know in my heart because I'm feeling it. Like now I'm feeling it that I heard it. So my sister walks in and she's already crying. And then my other sister walks in, she's already crying. And then my mama pulls up. When she pulls up, I know it's serious, you know, because like we talk to her every day, but she doesn't really pull up. So now by this point, I'm already numb. So then my legs just went out on me and I fell, and then my kids was there. So it's like it depends on your relationship and if the love was really real on how long it would take for you to be able to say that I'm back to my normal self, because I still question it to this day. So I can honestly say maybe never, but to be able to talk about it and cope with it regularly and live, I think about 5 years.
Mm.
It took the fifth year. I just now got to that point where I could talk on all aspects of it. Like at first it was just like I don't want to talk about it. But now it's like I can talk about it all day without dropping a tear. Maybe that's the thing too. It's not as emotional, but it's emotional, you know.
You know, when you talk about that, you know, when you say you could talk about it all day without shedding a tear, you know, I think that just, you know, well, what that really is too is that that's like that shows, I think, the tragedy, but also the strength of Black women. Like there's so many Black women who, and you guys can tell me if you know this, maybe you saw this with your grandmother or your mother, but it's like for hundreds of years, Black women have been like that, where it's like they sometimes they get put through so much stuff that it's like they just get all cried out. Like I can't cry no more. I don't have time to cry, you know. And it's so on one hand it does show strength, and strength is a good thing to a point, but at the same time it speaks to tragedy and also unaddressed pain. You know, there's a book actually that you may want to look at by a lady named Terry Williams. It's called Black Pain, and it's about Black women dealing with like depression and anxiety and stress and trauma, and just kind of just just keeping going. You know, because ain't no the world ain't gonna feel sorry for you. Nobody really takes the time to talk about how Black women are feeling and what Black women are going through. And I think that was why it was important for us, you and I, to talk about this, because we're talking about Nipsey and what happened to Nipsey Hussle, but it's like a lot of people were affected. You know, he had children. He was with his daughter right before he got killed. Lauren is dealing with that. You know, and I think that it's and it leads me to another question I want to ask. Somebody asked this question after it happened or since that time. Like, did you get a chance to talk to somebody like a therapist, anything like that, or how did you kind of work through that?
No, I was basically my own healer. I didn't get to talk to anyone, and then it was kind of like I didn't know who to talk to because it was like I felt like everybody was gonna be judging. Like you said, I felt like a whole lot of people thought it was normal. Like especially with my circle, and at the time with so many young people, I felt like everybody thought it was normal. So I didn't really get a chance to talk to anyone but my mom. You know, like family. Of course, you boys, but no, there'll be a no
Hmm.
for me.
Well, I would almost say that maybe that's still something you might want to do, because it's almost like, I think when we go through something that's that traumatic, we just, like we might feel like, okay, I'm over it now. It's not an issue anymore, but it changes who you are. Like it changes how we approach situations in the future. It changes how we love. Like sometimes, you may be afraid to love too deeply because you're like, well, wait a minute, it can always go bad. You know what I mean? Like, did that ever go through your mind? Like it can all end in an instant.
I actually had a situation with one of my friends, like when I did start to date. It took me 2 years to date afterwards. So when I did decide to date, I did have an incident where my friend was like, "Hey, you keep comparing me to him, and he's not her anymore," and I felt the way about that. So it most definitely does change. It makes you, it just makes you look at everything different. Cause like, of course, like I know that people get killed. I lost older people, but it was more of like natural causes. Like, okay, my family got old. It was about that time. I know they were sick, and it hurt. But to lose someone to the gun, it's a different kind of hurt. It's like one of those things that like nobody can tell you how long you're gonna hurt, because you, honestly, if you love a person, you're gonna hurt forever. It's just learning to cope with it. Like I learned to live with the hurt. But like you said, I learned to, like, because at the end of the day, my bills isn't gonna stop getting paid, and I still have to make sure that my kids are okay. So it was like one of those things. Like, look, you got to put on your big girl drawers, and you got to get it together, and you got to do what you got to do, because he's never coming back. Like I had to I tell myself that still to this day. Like I have to tell myself, like when it comes to my kids, like, because financially, like everybody, it takes a village to raise kids. So I have to remind myself, like, hey, you are your village, and besides the people that you bring into it, but you have to protect that too, because now it's like my kids sometimes are like, I didn't have a whole lot of people that was close to me besides my sisters and stuff. So they're like thinking like they can lose people because this is not a first friend that we lost that was close to us. So it's like they feel like that we lose people that get close to us. Cause like I don't know if you know, like with Ernika, with her brain surgery. So it's like everybody that gets close. So now I have the kids questioning like, why everybody that we love, something bad happens to them. So it's like you
Mm.
never learn to live with it, because they bring it up too. So it's like I have to be strong enough for their questions too.
Wow. Everybody who just tuned in, I'm talking to Shannon Marie from FlyNewBeingQueenTV.com, and we're talking about uh, the Nipsey Hussle situation, but from the perspective of Black women. Lauren London just made her first statement about the death of Nipsey, and as expected, she said basically she said there are no words. I'll read the statement to you guys again. Let me see here. Well, I had it in front of me. I do not have it in front of me. I'll pull it up and I'll read it in a second. But as we move forward, do me a favor. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please hit the thumbs up button. That's really, really important to bring more people into the conversation. Also, if you haven't subscribed to drboycetv.com, please do that. Just know that also we're on iTunes if you want to check us out on iTunes. And if you want to get a text notification when we go live, some of you just got a text, thousands of you just got a text message. So if you want to get text when we go live, just text the word voice to 31996. Text BOYCE to 31996, and I'll let you know when we go live. So Shannon, let me ask you this. So Quentin, your child's father that was killed a few years ago, 5 years ago. Um, what is it that you feel comfortable sharing in terms of the circumstances around how he died? Uh,
Everything.
okay, then go ahead. So what happened?
Okay. So basically what happened was he was in penitentiary when we was kids. Well, he was charged with robbery as a child. He didn't have his mother. Let's go from the generations. I'm gonna start from the beginning. He didn't have his mother. He was living with his aunt who was older. They were a lack of money, so he took it into his own hands as a 15-year-old boy to go rob a liquor store. So he did 3 years on the watch, and then when he turned 18, he went to jail. So he did 5 years in the penitentiary. So when he got out, he was trying to change his life. So what he did was he went and got a job. He was working every day. I was helping him with, he had got his GED while he was in penitentiary. So I was helping him look for a job. He finally got a job. He was getting stuff together, but Then once he got out of jail, he realized that I was the only person that he knew. You know, like as far as like what happened, everybody else was dead. His mom that he considered was dead. His father was actually a construction worker who was out of town, so he couldn't get him. So he went out and found the money. So for one, he already had one strike against him. They already considered him a black man that robbed the liquor store. Who was so now he's already considered a bad person. So then he was when he got out from penitentiary, he was in there for 5 years. He met up with his best friend. His name, we called him Nook. This is the guy that came to the house. He met up with his best friend just to visit him, just thinking that it was a regular visit to see his friend. And when he got out, his cousin gave him some money to put in his pockets, just to have in his pockets. And his friend, I guess he was telling him about it. It was only $2,000, boys. Say that too. So he had $2,000 out. In his pocket. He just got out, and it was just like one of those things. It's like this person was around, so I'm like, okay, maybe it's just his friend, maybe they just childhood friends. So then all of that dies down, and I'm like, okay, he still has this $2,000. So then the day comes to where he got killed. He still had the money, but he had a little bit, because not to mention now that he was working, and then he had the money that his family gave him. So he was working, so he had $2,000 plus work checks coming in. And his friend called him, like we were at the house together. His friend called him, was like, hey, can you come over to my house? And he was like, yeah, sure, I'm coming, because he's thinking it's a friendly call. So they're all standing out on the block, is what you call it. You know, that's what people call it, like standing on the block, like standing in the neighborhood. And the neighborhood was considered Portland. And Louisville, Kentucky, Portland is not like, it's not a good neighborhood, but it's not a bad neighborhood. It's like it can go down, it might not go down. So they were all standing in some outside of some apartment complexes, and a guy comes past and shoots up the whole apartment block, and he gets hit in the hip. He runs into a dead end, and they said that he dropped. And I know, have you ever heard of Christopher 2X? I'm pretty sure you have, boys.
Yeah, Christopher 2X. Yeah, that'll work.
So like he immediately came to the scene, and it was another lady. I forgot her name, but she was there. She was putting pressure to his wound. And I got a chance to talk to her when we did the balloon release at the actual location to where he got killed. And she was like, I didn't think that he was gonna die. And boys, I'm gonna get to it, but okay, she's like, I didn't think that he was gonna die. He was talking to me. He was very alert. Like, she was like, he got shot in the hip, and he wasn't bleeding out real fast. I don't know what happened. I don't feel like he was gonna die. And that goes to the point of what I was gonna get at next. Is like, when he got into the ambulance, I felt like, I'm sorry, they had something to do with it, because they didn't say he didn't start hemorrhaging. They didn't say that until after people was asking like that. Like, I don't think like they wanted to save him, and because it took them a long time to get there. So a lot of people, that's one of the stories that people felt like happened, that the ambulance killed them. And then another story is that they felt like that the nurses killed him because he got there enough time, but nobody didn't see him. Like, they didn't treat us like a nurse. They said when he got there that he didn't go straight back to the room. Like, they waited. They had to wait for a doctor to come to get him fixed. So, and then what happened next was, after I was alerted, I went to the hospital and I identified his body. He was dead. And that's just how it went.
So you're telling me, so you're telling me that he got shot, that your child's father, Quentin, got shot, that the people that were first responding to him, the people that were putting pressure to the wound, said that he appeared to be okay, that he was coherent, he was talking, he was fine. He gets in the ambulance, and then he gets to the hospital, and they don't take him immediately back to treat him. They made him wait.
Yes.
And then he ends up dying.
This is coming from the actual nurse, because she was crying. She was waiting on me. She was like, I know. She's like, we couldn't get him back there. I'm like, so yeah, basically, I'm not gonna say they killed him, because he was where he was supposed to be, and you make your own actions. You got to deal with them. But yes, that's exactly how it went, because that was the thing that me and his father was raising, and I was like, I don't feel like his parents is taking this serious enough, because we haven't have any answers. And then on top of that, boys, they found the gun. Somebody told them where the gun was, like where the weapon was. They found the gun, but it was washed away because they threw it in the sewage, and they found it 3 blocks up from where the crime scene was. So all the prints and stuff was washed out. But the guy, I feel like the guy that came and told him where the gun was should be still in custody. But he got out.
I didn't know that. I did not know.
Yes.
That. Wow. So I don't even know. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But did Did y'all think? Did anybody suggest you talk to an attorney about
Nobody. No.
Because
Nope.
I mean, I don't know. I don't even know how long. I mean, maybe some of y'all are watching and you know because there's a lot of people watching. So if one of you is a lawyer or something, feel free to send me a note, on Facebook, because it sounds like, I mean, that sounds like medical malpractice. That sounds like they let him die. Like they
They.
did not treat him properly. I mean, I'm blown away. So he's waiting in the lobby with a gunshot wound, and he ends up dying from the gunshot wound because they didn't get him back there and get him treated immediately.
But that's when they switched it and said that he started hemorrhaging. That's when they was like, and I was like, so you mean to tell me, like, when I came to the hospital and the nurse was telling me, like, we couldn't get him, and I started going off, then that's when she said, well, no, he started hemorrhaging in the ambulance. No, I know exactly what y'all told me. They said that they didn't have enough room to push him back because he was at the trauma center, U of L, when they rushed him there. And I'm like, I just remember just going off like, what do you mean you couldn't? Like, you couldn't get him back there. It wasn't no doctor available. And I was like, well, maybe the doctors had other stuff going on because around this time in the city, there was a whole lot of shootings. So I don't know if that was just one of the neighborhoods that was targeted as far as like that they were looking for someone. But I can honestly say that I know it wasn't for him because his best friend finally admitted that he had beef with a guy, but he wouldn't tell. I mean, of course he wouldn't tell what the guys, because then you would be labeled as a snitch, But
Right. Well, first of all, after we get done, I'm gonna call my friend who's a lawyer, because I need to ask her um, if there's anything legally that can be done about this. I don't. I mean, it's 5 years later. I don't know what could be done, but I want to find out because this hospital needs to be sued or called out or whatever because this is ridiculous. Second thought that I thought that crossed my mind is, there's a lot of black men that die, that get killed every year over situations that don't have nothing to do with them. A lot of black men and women, actually. A lot of women get killed. Maybe they in the car with somebody, with a boyfriend or whatever, and the boyfriend's got some stuff going on. She don't even know nothing about it. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the women that get killed, but it happens all the time. And then also my friend Greg, my best friend Greg, who died about 20 years before Quentin died in the same area, downtown Louisville. It was a similar kind of thing. Somebody else had a situation, but they came to his house and shot him in the head in front of his daughter. And similarly, in terms of how black life is not valued, they didn't care when he got killed. It wasn't a big deal. The police didn't really investigate. So we never got any closure. Like, it sounds like you didn't get any closure. Like, you still don't know exactly what happened. And also the situation wasn't his situation, it was somebody else's. So I think that what it makes me think about is, like, there's a lot of common stuff that a lot of people go through, and a lot of y'all who are watching, like, feel free to share, like, your own experiences too, because I'm sure there's hundreds of people watching right now who have gone through something similar or saw somebody go through the same type of shit. And it kind of speaks to the racism in the sense of, like, the hospitals not giving adequate treatment, the police not doing a thorough investigation, but then also how you can be affected by somebody else's situation. So it makes it harder. Like, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but as a mother, when you got sons, you have to almost teach them to be very careful about everything, because there's a lot of people that go down over stuff that they didn't have nothing to do with, But by the way, before we move forward, I want to ask you another question in a second, Shannon, but I want everybody, if you can, please hit the thumbs up button. Also, I'll let you guys know what we're talking about. We were talking about Nipsey Hussle and Lauren London and the effect on the family when black men go down. And to talk about it, I brought in Shannon Marie from FlyNubianQueenTV.com. And she's talking about the loss of her child's father, Quentin. What was Quentin's last name?
Moss.
Quentin Moss, who was gunned down in Louisville, Kentucky 5 years ago. And so she's being gracious enough to share her story, because we need to hear the stories from black women. We need to hear these stories. We need to hear from the women, hear from the children, hear from all the people that are affected, not just what's happening with us as men, even though we know all of those stories are tough stories to hear. Hit the thumbs up button, please. If you haven't done that, please hit the thumbs up button. And also feel free to shout out your city, your business, or your dream. We're in the space of intelligent black people, so we always elevate conversations. We don't just run our mouths and gossip. We actually talk about things that are going to help us grow as people. So So let me ask you about this part, Shannon. I want to ask you in terms of as a mother, like you are you're a mother and you have three sons, and your sons um are affected by this, very directly. And so, in fact, if the mother's affected, then the children are automatically gonna, they're gonna be connected to that. Like for example, my mother told me when I got older, my mother told me that when I was younger, she was really depressed all the time. And it made me understand, like, okay, that's why you were so cranky sometimes. That's why you were so mean sometimes. Like, because sometimes my mother, I go up and try to give her a hug, and she'd be like, "Get off of me." She wouldn't do that. She wasn't that mean, but I could tell, like the nurturing sometimes wasn't always what I would like for it to have been. And but once I understood what my mother was going through, it helped me to heal, helped me to kind of figure out why certain things happened the way they did. So when you think about your sons in terms of, preparing them for the future, what goes through the mind of a mother of sons, when you've had to overcome that kind of a tragedy, and you're sending your sons out into the same world that their father lived in? How do you, what goes through your mind?
It's like busy, keep them busy, keep them busy, keep them busy, where they don't have no time. It's like I'm overprotective now. It's like everywhere they go, like any practice is over, or if they got like a program, it's like I just say keep them busy and don't lack. Like I go all my kids' inboxes, like my kids got phones, like we're not allowed to have any social media. It's just like I'm just overprotective. It's like keeping them busy. That's my main thing that always comes to me. Like I want to keep them so busy where they don't have enough time to even mess with bullshit. Where stuff is just important. Like we have a zero tolerance for bullshit. Like no, like I just keep them busy. That's the first thing that comes to mind because a lot of these young kids, not even just the males, the females too, don't have anything to do. So then you have them. It's just they doing things that they're not supposed to do. I think they're growing up too fast. So my thing is to keep them busy doing kid activities and learning how to set yourself up for your future. It's just like important. Like that's where I'm at with it. It's like keeping them busy and making their brain grow because that's one thing nobody can take from you is your mind. So it's like I just try to feed their mind with so much positivity that they don't see the negativity. Like they won't see it. Like if they go around somebody and be like, "Mama, no, I don't want to go back to his house." Like my kids are straightforward. Like, nah, and I'll be like, "Why?" They'll be like, think I like his daddy. Like he be hitting on him too hard. Like so I keep them so positive where they don't see the negative. Like even like with my own family growing up, and like even though I had a big family, I wasn't as close as I would want to be. So it's like one of those things is that when you had that too, like that's another thing that teaches me. Like I teach my kids, like we all we got. It's literally like it's me and y'all. Like we all we got. So it's like one of those things, like keeping them busy and showering with so much love that they don't have any love lost. Like even though they're gonna have that empty spot with their father, it's like I try to fill that empty spot. And then I think what helps me is that they have the Godfather. I mean the Godfather and the granddaddy. So and then they can talk to you. So it's like having those male role models that are actually people that you can look up to. That's where you will have to trigger the energy to like, and that's just keeping them busy with
Mm-hmm.
positive stuff.
Yeah, well, I think it's and I know your sons very well, and I know that they are smart children. They have a smart mother that values education and stuff like that. And one of the things that I would say for sure is in terms of advice is I think really helping them understand, as a black man, you kind of have a higher level of expectation in terms of how you navigate through the world. Like you can't, as a black man, you just can't do everything white people do. You're like you run into just situations that are a little different, a little more dangerous. Like you might go try to talk to some girl and she might have a crazy ex-boyfriend that's got a death wish. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, you're dealing with something because so you gotta like be able to play chess, not checkers. Like you gotta be able to, think carefully about situations you go into, who your friends are, and so because it's not just the choices you make, it's the choice that's been made by the person that's right next to you. And nobody gets it perfect. Like I had a lot of friends that got into all kinds of stuff where I could have easily got caught up in something, but if I did see a warning sign, I had enough there to tell me get away from that. Like I'm not no, I don't want to be around what y'all doing, whatever y'all doing, you know. And I think also it's like sometimes I don't think guys get that kind of advice. Like I think, you know, a lot of men just grow up and they just kind of think we can just do whatever we want and it's gonna be okay. And it's not. Like one mistake can lead to prison for life. You know, it can lead to death. You know, and I've come close to death because of where I was at and who I was with. And it's like, and you wouldn't even expect that, right? Because I wasn't out here trying to, you know, gang bang or kill nobody, you know. But it's just hard, you know. As a black man, it is not easy. Like you got to really think. And I think as a mother, I think that you're doing a really good thing too. You remind me of my mother, because my mother, when I grew up, like me and my mother, when I was born, we lived in the projects. We lived actually not that far from LaSalle Place. You know LaSalle Place? Is that still there? Yeah. And you know, and I had a lot of friends that like we grew up and we were poor, but we didn't know we were poor because everybody was poor, so you couldn't tell the difference, you know. So we just thought it was normal. But now I look back and it's like, yeah, we didn't have a whole lot of money. But my mother, one thing is that happened was that the way me and my siblings kind of grew up and the things we did were different from the kids we grew up with. Like, you know, because we would all play with the same people and all our mothers were friends. And a lot of those same friends, they didn't end up in the best situations. You know, some of them are dead, some of them in prison, some of them, you know, struggling or whatever. And when I look back on that, one thing my mother did that was different was she did what you did. She kept them involved, kept us involved in activities. She would always talk to us about the importance of like going to school, getting an education, you know, some of that. That's why my sister's a doctor now. You know, none of our friends became doctors. None of them. None of them became professors and none of that stuff. But it was because of my mother's influence and my father too. She did get married when I was 3, and that really played a big part in that. So I think you're on the right track. Like I think that you're doing a really good job of giving your sons what they need to succeed. So let me ask you this. So just kind of moving forward, you know, based on what I just said, I know I just said a lot. Did anything come to mind that you wanted to share based on what I just said?
I just feel like with this whole situation, boys, like you said, it can hit so many different angles. It's like we can go from like, okay, it's like let's go like with me being ahead, like you know how we say like with the prison situation, like I look at that like I think it just comes from repeated broken homes, and it takes one person to change it. You know, like, and I feel like I'm my one person that's trying to change it. You know, but it took too many generations. But it's kind of I think it puts more weight on a person when so many generations made it okay. If that makes sense, like. You know, you got the first generation. It was like, okay, it was back then. Everybody was poor. Everybody was making it. You know, and then everything always goes up. Like it's levels to different things. So the level changes. So it's just like one of those things is like it's gonna always be the same, but it's not gonna be the same because everybody looks at it differently. So it's just
Okay. Well, just so you know, I want everybody to know who's on Facebook. I think I found the button that'll let you guys actually join the live. So if you're on Facebook and you want to actually come in and share in the conversation, I just found the button. So there should be a button that appears for you guys on Facebook where you can actually join the live. Sorry, I didn't know that there was a button I was supposed to hit, but now I found the button. And if you're not on Facebook and you want to join and you want to come in and make a quick comment, make it quick though. Let's make it quick so I don't have to cut you off. I don't like cutting people off, so please don't make me cut you off. But if you get the yapping too much, I might have to cut you short. But I don't want to do that. So if everybody could just be courteous and make the comment and maybe state the city that you're calling from and make a quick comment, that would be beneficial. I appreciate that. So Ivan, I don't know why you don't see the button yet, but I just hit the option on Facebook, which lets me invite you guys to come in. So I think it should be working now. Let me see if anybody has made a request to come in. I don't see anything yet. So or maybe I just got to fix it for next time. So tell me if you guys see a button now. If you see a button, if you're on Facebook, and everybody else who's watching, please hit the thumbs up button. I'm gonna give it 1 second to see if anybody can come in. If not, we'll just try it next time. So. Okay, so it looks like it's not working yet. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and bounce out, and I'll let you. Oh, here we go. Wait. Oh, Purtis Williams. Purtis says he wants to be in the video, so let's bring Purtis in. So let's see if we can get Purtis in. Let's see. It says he's adding him. Hit the thumbs up button while we wait for Purtis. And also, if you want to be notified when we go live, text the word voice, BOYCE, to 31996. Text voice to 31.99.6. We're talking about Lauren London, Nipsey Hussle, as well as what Black women go through when their men are being gunned down or going through the trauma in the street. Okay, so brother, I hit the button to bring you in. It says it's adding you, but I don't see you added yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move to the next person. Aris, is it Aris Richardson? I'm gonna approve you now and see if I can bring you in. Okay, it says there's already a guest in this broadcast, so this thing is acting stupid. All right, so let me try to bring Aris in. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna knock out one person and bring in another person. Here we go. Okay, so Aris, I'm trying to bring you in. Let's see if it brings you in. Let's see if it works. Facebook hates me. Facebook be hating all the time. Here we go. Hey, we did it.
Yay.
Hey, Aris. So what city are you in? I'm hearing a little bit of an echo. Yeah, but the echo's pretty loud. Are you on your phone? Okay, maybe turn the audio down a little bit. Maybe that'll help. I can hear you. So how about this? I won't talk. You do all the talking because I can hear an echo.
Okay. I went through the same experience where my daughter's father actually witnessed him being murdered, along with his mom and her ex-boyfriend. But with that process, I say, like, I knew from the gate, I witnessed it by me seeing, I knew that I couldn't deal with it by myself. So I've been going to therapy after 3 years ago, but I'm still going to therapy to this day.
Oh, wow.
Day by day, continue to work on yourself, better yourself. That's been helping me through this process.
Okay, well, thank you for that comment, Aris. I'm gonna go ahead and end this and let you go because that echo's pretty bad. But I appreciate your comment very much, sister. Thank you very much, and maybe next time we'll have a better connection. So because it did come through. Did you hear that, Shannon? Were you able to hear? Yeah. So first of all, I'm very sorry, Aris, that you had to go through that. You know, that's wow. That's I mean, what bothers me about it, Shannon, is that it's just the trauma is like everywhere. Like everybody's been through it. And the thing to me is that, you know, nobody really cares. You know, people just kind of think that that's over. That just comes with being black. Like white people don't care. The politicians don't care. And they create all of this. Like the reason all the black men go to prison is because of the war on drugs and Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton signed a crime bill that basically like elevated the sentences, like where you would get like a whole lot more time in prison if you sold crack than if you sold powder cocaine. The 3 strikes law where you get life in prison for almost nothing. And so millions of families like were affected by this. And the thing is like, they haven't fixed that. They have not changed that. So a lot of people in your generation are children that grew up with parents that were affected by what they did in the previous generation. So that I just want to share that with you, so you just kind of know, like when you're seeing stuff and it just seems like what's wrong with black people? Like why what's all this killing? Like what's all this craziness? It wasn't something that was who we really were. Like it wasn't like that maybe before like the 1970s. Like this was deliberate. So the reason, for example, a lot of people think Nipsey Hussle's murder was caused by the government, possibly. At least 30. We did a survey with you guys, and about 33% of you think that the Nipsey Hussle murder was connected to the government. The reason people think that is because the government has a history of doing things to throw the black community off its game. Like in the 1960s, black people were starting to get really organized. They were starting to really, push for our rights, build economically. And the head of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, they asked him, they said, what is the biggest threat to America right now? You know what he said the biggest threat to America was?
What did he say?
Black unity. He said the number one threat to our country, the scariest thing, the thing that we as the government are most afraid of is black people sticking together. So the best way to keep black people from sticking together is to do what? To get black people to kill each other.
Yep.
Right. So just know that there's a reason people are paranoid. It didn't come from just You know, we didn't just pull it out of our ass. Like this is based on legit, documented proof of things that they have done to us in the past. So I just wanted to share that with you because, you know, with you being a little younger than me, you know, maybe there's some things there, some factors there that you might not be aware of. So let me bring it. Okay, so Purtis, I'm gonna try to bring you in again. Hopefully we won't have the echo challenge that we had last time. Purtis, it says it's adding you. Okay, wait, here we go. Purtis, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, sir. How you doing this morning?
Doing very well. What city are you from?
I'm in Atlanta right now.
All right. Well,
ATL?
yeah, well, welcome from ATL, brothers. What's on your mind today?
Thank you, sir. Now, now there's a little bit of a delay.
Oh, it's okay. Just go right at it.
So it seems like it's a little bit of a delay for some reason. So I was trying to cut down the echo the last young lady had. So put the headphones on and say it.
Oh, you good. We can hear you perfect.
But I did want to address what the young lady did hint on is we, as people of color, really need to have an opportunity to do some counseling. We need that in our family. I, for one, witnessed my father being killed when I was 9 years old, and that created, a strange thing for me growing up that I didn't know about, and it pushed me into alcoholism also, and some other things. The counseling and my reconnecting with God was what I really feel like changed my life and sent me in a different direction, where I was able to start to focus on my goals. Now, rather than sitting around complaining, I'm focusing on doing something about the problems and trying to offer help to other people who need problems also.
Wow.
That's why I did start a program, Uniting America Project. We do have a Facebook page, Uniting America, and just trying to unite all the people who are down here on the bottom that really don't understand how we have been affected by, like you said, the government, the news, just kind of being directed back to them. And just trying to do a little bit something different now. So I love some help with this because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, well, thank you very much for your comment. It's Purtis, right?
Yes, sir. Purtis with a P.
Yeah.
Well, like Purtis, but with a P.
All right, Purtis with a P. Okay, well, thank you very much for that, Purtis. I'm gonna let you get back to your day, brother, but we'll address the comment for sure. Thank you so much. And by the way, if you're on Facebook and you have something to say, just hit the little button and we can bring you in. Purtis, so Purtis has the United America Project, which sounds like is much needed. And his goal is to help people in our community who've experienced trauma or are going through something in life. And I'm gonna tell you what, Purtis is right. I think everybody should go join the United America Project Facebook page and get some sort of help with the fact that we have so much trauma in the community that's unaddressed. And so Shannon, the reason it's important for us to address the trauma is not just because we end up hurting ourselves. We get, like Purtis mentioned, that he started drinking because of what he saw with his father, which, by the way, Purtis, I want to say I'm so sorry for your father, man. I'm very sorry for your loss. But Purtis said that, his self-medication, when we used that term earlier, his self-medication was alcohol, because alcohol numbed the pain for him. And that caused some problems later on down the line. And so basically, not only does the trauma, when it's unaddressed, hurt us, but what happens is we also end up hurting each other. Like somebody who's really been through some horrible shit, like a little girl who saw her father get killed when she was 9 or 7 is gonna have an issue in her relationships with men for the rest of her life. Seriously, even if the father just disappeared and it wasn't around, and she's mad at him for that, So if you don't know that that's there, then you'll carry that with you and end up hurting people, disappointing people, hurting people's feelings, stuff like that your whole life, and you won't even know why. You have something to say to that?
Yes, because I experienced it. Because it's like you don't even know that you're hurting the people. It's just like it's a feeling. It's like it's just how I feel. Because like I have hurt a few people off the back of me not knowing how to love properly or giving too much love and feel like it's been taken away from me. Like, like
Mhm.
I was loving him off the right way. I felt like we was where we were supposed to be. We were growing, and it's felt like I was giving all my love, and just to have somebody snatch a piece of my heart from me is like it was hard to replace. It was like I could see myself like not giving people opportunities to show me how they were and were judging people off of what I've been through.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it is a
No.
fact that, like you said too, though, boys, it was a two-time hit for me. Like I didn't have a father growing up. Like my father went to penitentiary when I was 2 years old. I never knew the guy. Like
Mhm.
I never knew him. Like paper, I would write him sometimes, but I didn't really keep up because he really wasn't keeping up with me. So it was like an on and off relationship with my father too. So it was like I had this on and off relationship with my father that was in penitentiary of a man that was literally a stranger to me besides on paper. And seeing that he was in a different state during his time, I never in my life saw my father face to face. Never did a jail visit or anything. It was just only pictures and it was letters. So that was my first hit. Like they say that a father teaches their young daughter the first love. Like that's the first love, as far as like from a man. So it's like I already had that hit, and then like feeling like I was in love, and then like me and Quinn was engaged. Like my mama, everybody knew, but like going from there, it was just like everything. It was like that was my first hit, and then like my first love. Let's say that that's what they call it growing up.
Mhm.
Like so it's then and then losing my first love is like, hey guy, like hey, are you asking me what's the strike three? Like am I next? Like hey, what's up? Like what's
Mhm.
going on? So it makes you question them. So then it makes you going back to questioning yourself. Like how you gonna question something that you believe in? I believe in God and I'm questioning them. So it's like it's so many different things that it hit that it's like where do you start with the conversations with people? And then so many people been through it. It's like the conversation could never end. So
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah, well, it's tough. My friend, I have a friend named Dr. Cleo Monago, and he talks about the term he uses is he talks about what's called re-traumatizing each other. Like black people re-traumatize. We re-traumatize each other because I have trauma, you have trauma. So because of my trauma, I traumatize you. Maybe because I don't know how to trust, I don't know how to love, I don't know how to be a nice person all the time. Or maybe the minute you piss me off, or you, they would call it triggering. So the minute you upset me, like it might be you didn't call me back. It might be you called me a name. It might be I feel like you disrespected me. And the minute you trigger me and you traumatize me, maybe I come back and I traumatize you. And that's one of the big problems of black people. That's one of the reasons why you see a lot of killing. That's also why you see a lot of families that can't stay together in relationships because somebody, you ever, what I'm talking, like you probably seen it where somebody says something to somebody that hurts their feelings, and they're like, "Oh no, motherfucker, you ain't gonna talk to me like that." And next thing you know, it just escalates. It escalates. The reason a lot of times people attack each other is because their feelings got hurt. Like so with Nipsey Hussle, for example, how did he end up dying? How did his son or how did his children? Sorry, he has a daughter. I think he has a son too. How did his children lose their father? How did Lauren lose her man? Well, he died because somebody's feelings got hurt. The guy tried to talk to him. Nipsey said, "Get out of my face, you a snitch." Whatever. You a snitch, you a bitch. Whatever. So the guy's feelings are hurt, right?
Right.
So because his feelings are hurt, because you hurt my feelings, you traumatized me or upset me. Now I'm gonna show you that I'm a man. I'm gonna make you pay. So he shows up the next day with a gun and says, "I'm gonna traumatize you more than you traumatize me." Well, really, both of them, both of these guys, in my opinion, are trauma victims. I bet if I was to talk to each of them and say, how many people do you know? How many people did you know that got killed before you turned 18 years old? How many friends have you had that have been murdered? They would probably be like, oh, about 12, 8, 14. It'll be some number that's really high. I've seen people that will live their whole life and only have nobody they know get murdered. But for a lot of our kids, they'll be like, oh yeah, I know so and so, this person, that person, my homie, blah blah. You know what I mean? Like it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal, right? Or if I was to ask them, so tell me about, when you were growing up, like, did you have enough money? Like they'd be like, nah, we were really poor. It was so poor. We didn't have bologna sandwiches. We didn't have any bologna left. Like I was hungry. I had to go out and eat in the garbage can. Like so many of our people can tell a story like that. That's not normal. We ain't supposed to be telling stories like that, right? Or tell me about your parents. Oh yeah, when I watched my dad get killed, like Purtis. I saw my dad get killed when I was 9. or whatever, or you know, my mother, you know, Malcolm X talks about how his father got murdered, where the white people put him on the railroad tracks and they ran him over, and then they traumatized the family even further by not paying out on the insurance because they said it was a suicide, right? And then his mother goes crazy, and he watches his mother get dragged away in a straitjacket to an insane asylum because she couldn't handle it. She couldn't handle the pressure. So it's like, you go through all of that, you're gonna be real fucked up, like mentally. You can't, it's hard to be normal, you know. So that's why, one, we need therapy. You know, that's the first thing, because if you don't get the therapy, then what'll happen is you'll just end up carrying the shit and dropping it on people. Like, because the minute they do something to you that makes you feel insecure, or that like you can't trust them or scared again, then you'll act on it, right? So I might, like, how many times, like, let me ask you this. Here's another example. How many times do you go on Facebook and you see people that will put up a meme and be like, if you piss me off, I'm gonna cut you off. Or if you make stupid comments, I'm gonna cut you off. Or I'm cutting people off this year, 2019, I'm cutting everybody off. Right? We brag about that. And what you're really saying is that because I don't like being re-traumatized, or because I'm afraid of that, I'm gonna just start ending my relationships with other people. That I have no desire to maintain relationships. I have no desire to heal with other people. If I get a man or girlfriend or boyfriend, I'm not gonna fix it with you. If I have an issue with you, I'm not gonna talk to you about it. I'm just gonna cut you off because you hurt my feelings. So that means, nigga, you need to get the fuck out of my face, right? Well, really, you're not supposed to do that. When you have an issue with somebody, you're supposed to talk to them and say, look, you know, you really actually kind of hurt me when you said that. And then the person was like, oh, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm really sorry. And you work it out, you know, like the Crips and the Bloods. That's what they were doing. They were working it out. Like Nipsey was one of the people that was trying to work with them to work it out. And it's hard when everybody's had trauma. Everybody's seen their friends get killed. Everybody's got all this baggage. It's hard as fuck to work shit out. That's why you see a lot of relationships that can't last. That's why a lot of kids don't grow up with a mother and a father, because the mother and the father both traumatized. They can't work out the problem. They just part ways and then move on and get traumatized by somebody else. So I said a lot. I know I did. What are your thoughts?
And then that just goes to each generation being traumatized. And that's why it goes down and down, because like you said, it's a lack of communication. Because it's like one of those things, is like, I found myself guilty of a lack of communication too. It's because sometimes even when you do communicate, it's still pointless. It's like a lot of wasted time. I think people do. I think it goes back to what you've been through and how it is, because like, you can communicate, but it'll still be a lack of communication, if it makes sense. It's like we're communicating, but we're getting nowhere. It's like beating a dead horse with a stick. It's getting nowhere. So even sometimes when you communicate, the communication, it still doesn't work, because you have your beliefs. You don't want to open up and look at the other person's point of view. You want to just believe, like, this is what it is. This is what it's going to be. And I don't care what nobody says. Like, when you going through stuff, a lot of people do that too. So that's what causes problems too. It's like, we get into our bubble, like, this is what I believe. I don't care what you say. This is how it's gonna go, and this is what it is. And then I think people are. It's harder for people to accept when people keep it real with them. Like, you know, people don't want to hear the truth. We can talk about the lie all day, but when the truth is on you and you in that hot seat, it's like you don't want to talk about it. It's like, oh, now you fall into the victim. So it's just like it's going to be a generation curse. It's going to keep going down and down and down, as long as we accept that it's okay. I'm not accepting that it's okay.
Well, I agree with you. And I think we got to be committed to breaking the cycle. You know, if you're seeing, you know, fucked up shit in your family that's happened generation after generation, you have to point it out and say, it's not going to be like that. You know, like we're not, like, for example, I know a lady who she was molested by her stepfather, but her stepfather was molested, you know, so it's like it went through the family, and she just said, it's not going to happen this generation. My children will not go through what I went through, right? And I think that that's really important in terms of consciously doing that. Also, when it comes to managing relationships, there are, you know, there's all kinds of like books and videos out there on how to maintain your relationships. Like they call it, you know, one thing is conflict resolution. You know, we've heard people talk about it when it comes to like gangs and all that. Well, that also works for friendships. You know, conflict resolution works for marriages. You know, like most people I know that get married and stay married, it's not because they don't have problems. They have the same problems as everybody else most of the time. The difference is they have good conflict resolution skills with each other. You know, like if you're a person where like or one of us, let's say, you know, we're friends, right? And you are a person where if I insult you or hurt your feelings, you're gonna cut me off, or maybe you might pull out a gun and shoot me, right? You know, well then that means that the minute we have a conflict, it ain't gonna work out. We're gonna end up blasting each other, going off on each other, cussing, screaming, yelling, fighting, and all that. But there's some people where they have a whole different approach. Like they want to de-escalate it, the conflict, right? So if I hear that, if somebody tells me that you said something about me and it hurts my feelings, you know, I could be like, well, I'm cutting that dude. I ain't talking to him no more. Screw them. Or I could call you up and be like, I heard that you said that. Like what's going on? Like, did I do something to offend you? If I did, you know, please let me know, because I really didn't mean to do that. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't always work on everybody, because two people have to tango with it. Like, two people have to kind of be playing the same game, right? But if you have another person that doesn't want any trouble with you and you don't want any trouble with them, you can usually work it out. Like, I don't know if you know, the Nation of Islam, one of the rules they have is that if you have a problem with somebody else in the nation, like if your brother says something about you that bothers you, or you see something or hear something, don't just go off of like rumors. Don't just go off of what you think that they meant. Talk to them about it and talk it out so you can work it out and fix the relationship. Like, so a lot of times our relationships that could be fixed, we don't fix them. We just throw it away, and then we end up starting over and over and over again. And that's how people end up in one relationship after another after another. So there's books out there, there's videos out there. So if I was giving you advice, I would say just know that most of the problems that you have in life, there's an expert out there that can give you some information that'll help you resolve that problem a little bit better. You know what? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
makes perfect.
Don't think you got to know it all yourself. You don't have to know it all. There's experts out there that will tell you, oh, if your husband says this and he upsets you, then this is the way you can approach it, where he won't get offended and it won't cause a bigger fight. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, by the way, we're almost done. I'm talking to Shannon Marie from FlyNubianQueenTV.com. We're talking about Nipsey Hussle, Lauren London, and how, in the woman's perspective, on when our men are getting killed, the women in the family. Nobody really talks about that. So I wanted us to talk about that today. And Shannon's been kind enough to share the story about Quentin Moss, her child's father, who was murdered a few years ago. The crime wasn't completely solved, and we actually think the hospital might have played a part in getting him killed. So I'm actually going to call a lawyer friend I have and ask if she can help with that. And do me a favor, if you're watching, please hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the like, share, subscribe button. And also, don't forget, we're on iTunes now, so you can actually look up my name on iTunes and you can subscribe to the podcast there. So Shannon, before I let you go, do you have any parting thoughts in terms of the conversation? Like, what maybe this helped you kind of process and realize, and or if this discussion helped you grow in any kind of way?
Yes, because I say, like, don't be bottled up. I know it's hard when people tell you in the beginning to, like, you know, it's gonna be okay. Like, I say, speak on it when it happens, because I felt like if I would have actually spoke on it instead of keeping it bottled up, that it wouldn't have been as worse, and I would be able to deal with it better. But like, just having a conversation and knowing that everybody goes through it, like, I already know that everybody goes through it. So I feel like it's easier for me, because like, I got a lot of great people in my life, just that helps me with a lot of different situations. But so it's kind of like one of them things. Is like, even if you got to go get like a group of people, or if you got, like you said, look up, like, the internet is your best friend with, like, with information. So I say, just like, don't push people away, because that's the first, that would be advice I would give to anybody that ever experienced. Don't push them away, because they really care. They just don't know how to give you advice. You know, like, they don't know what to say, because they don't know how you're going to take it. So it's like one of those things, like, everybody thinks that they're giving a good advice until somebody reacts on it. And then it's like, oh, what I do? You know, it's like, you didn't do anything. It just might have been something. It might not have been what you said, it's how you said it. So it's like, I would take that from you, because a lot of people, I look back now and I sit back and think, a lot of people was telling me good information, but I was blocking them out. So I would take that advice from you and actually let the people help me. Like, I was just like, no, everybody just get away. I want to be by myself, and basically just lock myself in the house. And so I say that don't you can't get through it alone. You can't. You just can't.
Well, I think that that's super smart of you. I think the smartest thing a young person can do is take advice from older people because they've lived a lot of life. They've had a lot of experiences, and they have information that can help you solve important problems that'll help you avoid terrible mistakes. You know, the biggest mistake you can make as a younger person, I think, is to just do it all without even talking to anybody or trying to get another point of view. You know, it doesn't mean anybody's going to tell you what to do. Nobody can tell you what to do. You're grown. But, you know, while you're grown and it's like you're the president of your life. You're the CEO of your life. You're the boss of your life. So nobody can tell the boss what to do. So you get to make the final decision. But any good president, any good CEO, any good boss has advisors so they don't make bad decisions. You know, so basically, if I was in my 20s again, one of the things I would do is just listen to older people so that they could just tell me their point of view. I ain't got to take the advice. If it's bad advice, I won't use it. But they might tell you something. They might be like, oh yeah, I went through this in 1998 and here's what happened. And you'd be like, oh, okay, well now I know how that plays out. So I don't think I want to do that now. You see, so that's how I learned a lot of stuff when I was younger. I would hear older people talk. And they'd be like, yeah, you don't want to do that. You start drinking. The next thing you know, you're drinking too much and then you become an alcoholic. Well, that's what led me to say, you know what? I don't think I want to drink. So to this day, I don't drink. And I don't look down on people that drink, but it's like that's one less problem that I could have had. You know, I've never been at risk of becoming an alcoholic. So now I can focus on solving my other problems, you know, because all the older men and the problems they had with alcohol and all that. So you can learn from older people. So I think it's really smart of you. Well, I want to say thank you, Shannon, for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, boys.
Yes, absolutely. And everybody, this is Shannon Marie from FlyNubianQueenTV.com, the network for melanated women. So go check that out, FlyNubianQueenTV.com. Also, everybody, please give Shannon a digital round of applause and a digital thank you for sharing her story. I appreciate the fact that she was sharing. This is a very sensitive topic. I wouldn't have blamed her one bit if she didn't want to talk about it publicly, but she did this to help some of you that are going through things. And just remember that, you know, God built you to endure a lot. You know, there's nothing that you're going to be handed that you can't handle. And I encourage you to keep going, keep moving, no matter what. It's going to be okay. And so everybody, last but not least, if you want to support intelligent Black media all throughout the world, we would love to have you as a patron on our platform. Feel free to go to intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. In exchange for being a patron, we give you lots of free stuff, and so it's not a donation, it's an investment. But we can use your help in the army against ignorance, or in our war against ignorance, because we're trying to make Black people smarter and better. We're not trying to make us dumber and more backwards, because we got enough of that out here. So thank you very much, Shannon. I appreciate you, sister. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.